Hey everybody, a little update video here. Don't do these very often, but there were some things that I wanted to talk about in relation to the direction of the channel, and a few other things that have either been relegated purely to my social media until now, which I know not everyone follows, or just things that have been stirring around in my head, so here they are. Also, I apologize if I at all look awkward reading off the screen here. Normally for these types of videos, I wouldn't really script them per se, but I just kind of wanted to here because the topics are a little scattered, and I know that if I tried to go unscripted, I'd just be sitting here going, the whole time, and generally making it difficult to edit down later, so bear with me, I guess. First off, I want to talk a little bit about the last video. People were generally very positive, even when they disagreed with it, which I want to thank people for that. That being said, though, there were quite a few people who were dissatisfied with it for one reason or another, and I want to touch on my thoughts since the video's release here a little. This isn't a clapback or anything like that. I generally really care about what my viewers have to say, so if something misses the mark with a portion of my audience, obviously, I want to take their thoughts into account to make my stuff better in the future. So, you know, the criticism you receive is a useful benchmark to go by, etc. First off, I do want to say that the tone shift was probably inevitable. I do just dislike the show a lot, so I didn't have as many good things to say about it as previous installments. And I understand why some wouldn't prefer a skew toward negativity, but I obviously can't invent positive feelings where I don't have them. That being said, having reassessed some elements of the presentation, I can definitely understand why some felt like the conveyance left them feeling alienated. Obviously, that wasn't my intent, but intent isn't everything. I think all media can prove that in one way or another. In particular, I do regret some of my wording here and there. The turning your brain off bits, I think, could have been phrased in a more nuanced way that didn't quite sound so condescending toward fans of the show. I guess I was just trying to convey how its continuity and integrity, when compared to its previous material, didn't stack up for me, and so I struggle to imagine being okay with how many of those decisions diverged from the original material or retconned it entirely in some cases. But to clarify, I don't want people to feel as if they don't see a problem there, that I somehow think they're unintelligent or not thinking. Phrasing it that way, I think, was probably a mistake that could have used tweaking. Also, Akuma. I don't think it's a secret that even some of the people who liked the video hated him and thought he was kind of an obnoxious addition. I did say in response to some early commenters that he wasn't intentionally an actual legitimate straw man. He does say he's lying about even liking the show towards the end of the video, but if you found the gag grating to begin with, I don't think it would be wild to imagine not getting there. He wasn't so much intended as a peg to knock down, but more of a bad actor, and furthermore just kind of a scripting convenience. What I mean by that is that there were a lot of times where I'd want to address something related to the subject that I was talking about, but it felt disconnected script-wise to just randomly diverge off the side of something as a single person talking. So he introduced an opportunity to briefly get conversational in the way that would help direct the script onto the topic it needed to be on, if that makes sense. That said, I can understand why people hated his utilization or felt quite literally demonized by his presence. Again, I think this could have been done better, and his role could have been made more clear, and the people who hate him are totally within their right. I don't like to make people feel alienated or discomforted, and even if only a percentage of my audience was left feeling that way by some of the presentation of the video or Akuma himself, it's something that spurs me to think a bit more about how I do these things in the future. I do care about what people have to say and how they feel. And so if my decisions rubbed up against that general ethos, I want to adjust my approach for that. So again, the feedback is valued and I'm listening to it. I still stand by pretty much all of the things I think are wrong about the show itself. I don't think most of the major issues are things that I would ever call nitpicks or salt for its own sake, but I also don't think that people are required to see it my way either. And what I care about is specifically stating my opinion in such a way as to be completely honest, while still wanting to let the audience feel the way they feel. If I failed at that for some, well, better to get it out of the way now and learn from it for the future. I'm still relatively early on into what a lot of people would call the YouTuber journey, so if I can get some minor L's put aside now, I think I'll be better off when approaching how to make stuff further down the line. That said, the V3 video is obviously going to be a lot closer to the tone and format of the previous DR videos. My opinion of V3 is still pretty complicated, but not enough to have this much negative skew, I don't think. And not to jinx myself, but I don't think it'll be nearly as long either. DR3 was only as long as it was because I felt like nobody had quite dived comprehensively into the issues that I had in a video before, and because it's 2 whole seasons of anime with a lot of different topics to discuss. But V3 is a totally different story. So I think shedding some light on my own perspective will take a lot less setup and generally be less long-winded. Okay, with that all out of the way, now it's time to talk about how video production will be changing a little bit in the near future. So my original plan for V3 was to definitively finish it in August. I've been trying to stick pretty strictly to a video per month model for a while now, but I'll be honest, it's becoming increasingly obvious that I am damaging my mental health doing this. I felt very little satisfaction upon completing the last video, when normally I feel a wash of relief. I don't want anyone to worry about me, but I had a pretty bad depressive spiral related to the general stress and overwork that genuinely felt like my worst spike in over a year. And that really made me want to sit down and think pretty carefully about this. A couple of months ago, when I released the If video, I worked on that video to get it done in time for my break trip, where I went down to Austin's for a couple of weeks. And he was extremely gracious in offering that to me, especially when I was going through some personal circumstances that made being at home really emotionally trying for me at that time. I really can't thank him enough for that. But he said something to me about that lately that really caught my attention. He said that for the first couple of days that I was there before the If video launched, I was noticeably anxious about it the whole time, but that I started to loosen up a little bit once it was done, and I basically disconnected from what I felt like were my duties. And that really set off some alarm bells for me, like, I shouldn't be feeling that way, especially not so strongly that people can tell just by looking at me. While I was working on the DR3 video, my days basically consisted of maybe an hour or so of leisure at most, eating and then editing all day long. The copyright BS we had to deal with in the immediate aftermath of the upload and my general dissatisfaction were making me so anxious that I was literally waking up in the middle of the night with acid reflux. Yeah, that wasn't good. And so with all that said, I think it's made pretty clear that I need to make a change with how I approach production, and that's that I'm gonna try to give myself more time. I know the algorithm scares me, but you guys have been extremely gracious and understanding. Your support has been so kind I could literally cry about it, but I'm not going to because that would be awkward. And well, I don't know, I guess I'm willing to take a chance on it because I want to believe in people more than I want to believe in numbers. That isn't to say that I plan to stop posting or anything, or that you'll see me in 6 months. I still plan to work pretty diligently, but not like to the extent where I am actively harming myself in doing so, you know? I still want to get V3 done sometime within the next month or so, or a little longer maybe, but I'm not going to hold myself to a strong line of it has to be August or you have failed the people and you will become irrelevant forever. Because, well, that's unhealthy. I've also got some times in the near future where I'm going to probably be out of town for a bit, so I'm gonna try not to scold myself for not working 24/7 at those times either. Keyword being try. From now on too, I think I'm probably going to avoid doing retrospective series videos all in a row. I want to do more retrospective series after I finish DR, don't get me wrong, but I'd like to sort of switch it up to keep myself from going crazy, if that makes sense. Doing only Danganronpa videos for nearly 9 months has been slowly cheese grating my brain. So I think being able to say like, do a video about one series and then alternate to another for a video and then come back to it would maybe be a better way to handle this in the future. And I hope people will be receptive to that change. Furthermore, speaking of changes, I think I'm going to start pivoting away from doing videos about specifically anime television shows as much. That is not to say that I will never do them. There's just too many shows I love to not make videos about them. But editing them can be extremely anxiety-inducing thanks to the content ID stuff, and I am just feeling less and less like it is worth the nausea in most cases. And a lot of you seem to enjoy the stuff that I make about video games or web original content, so there's still plenty of that I want to talk about between the rare stints where I think talking about anime would be necessary to me. So hopefully that will make things easier if people are cool with that shift in direction. And that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. I hope you all look forward to the V3 video and the end of the DR retrospective. I have some pretty cool little things to go along with it that I hope will bring a smile to the face of anyone who's cared about this series. And some opportunities to potentially be in the video are available if you look at my Twitter, and that sounds at all appealing to you, so hopefully I'll see you there. And I'd like to go ahead and thank Serena Midori, Shogun DX, Friend of Dracula, and Ali Oliver. Thank you so much for your support, everyone, and I'll see you later. Peace.